Hello everyone and welcome back to another photo mishmash. I'm Christina.
And I'm Toby.
And this is episode 60. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for watching, for being
Joining
here.
us. For those of you live in the chat room, I saw some interesting discussions about snakes and rats.
Very fascinating.
Earlier, so you know, those folks who miss out on the live show, you miss out on wonderful in-depth discussions about snakes and rats. Welcome back. As Christina said, this is our weekly news show and discussions and reader questions and bits of rumors. We mash that all up into a giant ball of potatoes and yams and cameras, and we share it with you all. I'm Toby, photographer and educator.
I'm Christina. I am a full-time wedding photographer.
That's right. We should get a nice one of your more favorite pictures and flash it up on the screen.
My more favorite pictures?
Yeah, one of your more favorite pictures.
Yeah.
Just so people know that you're capable of taking really nice photos. So, you know, just so people say, oh, that's a nice photo. Where can people
This is really pro right here.
Yeah, I know. It's what we got. We got really pro. Where can people see more of our work?
Well, you can log on to photorec.tv. Link is right on the screen right now. And you can see articles, links to other YouTube videos, and you can participate in some discussions about things that are posted. And you can find us on Instagram as well. We try to be pretty active. You're very active on Instagram.
Some days more than others.
Yeah.
I enjoy it a lot. I've gotten some feedback from some folks as we started these challenges of kind of like, I'm not really into Instagram. And that's fine. I totally understand that. And for quite a while, I wasn't really into it either. But for me, it's a lot of fun to shoot in the square crop, and it's just this interesting way to share stuff. We talked about this in the past, but pretty much when you go on Facebook, it's your friends either, you know, making you jealous of some amazing trip they're on, or griping that their refrigerator is broken and you feel bad for them or something like that. It's like, you know, it's this push and pull. But on Instagram, it's pretty much just these cool pictures. You're like, hey, that's a cool picture. Ooh, that's another cool picture. Hey, that's another cool picture. So it's a lot of fun. But you certainly don't have to do it if you don't want to.
That's right.
And I did hear something today about Instagram they're going to get more serious in advertising. So it'll be interesting to see.
I've been seeing some ads
Right.
on sponsored content on Instagram.
Yep. And I have to say the ones I've seen so far have been good, but let's hope that it doesn't get too heavy, because that will certainly bring my feeling down.
Yeah.
See. But for now, it's a great place, and it's a great place to run our weekly Instagram challenges.
Yeah. Speaking of
Yeah, we want to jump right into that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So we have been running weekly Instagram challenges, and the participation has been fun. Last week, I just want to touch real quick again on the minimalism.
Yep.
Because when we pull up that page of minimalism photos, all in their little neat thumbnails, it was gorgeous. Just picture after picture. They work well together. It was wonderful. And now you went and threw us to the wolves, to the lions with Entropy. And you go look, and I feel like my eyes are going to start bleeding.
What?
They're cool pictures, but they're just all over the place. All different kinds of stuff, all mishmashed together just like this show. And yeah, that's all I want to say.
Okay.
So, do we want to say drum roll? No, that's silly. Sorry. Entropy. And the winner is?
Wait.
Oh, you're not?
We have to do first runner-up or second runner-up.
Oh, we're doing that again. Okay.
Yes, we
Which
are.
one was that?
Go back. Next one. The one that you did first.
Oh my gosh, can you click
This one right
that
there.
one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now we can go.
First runner-up. Glad we got that worked out.
Ta-da! Bobby Co.
Bobby
is
Co.
third runner-up. So this was a cool image. I love the birds. The birds are really cool.
Pelicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, we've had some disagreements. I think I'm going to put together the web page as I've been doing, or a blog post that shows out, shares the winners and I love this one too. I agree with you completely on this one. I don't necessarily agree on some of the other ones, but I just want to say you take a moment here and look at what's going on. It is chaos, which I think some people have kind of, it's an easy translation of entropy. And you've got these pelicans in various motions of swirling, and there's even this one on the left that is just diving straight down, and you have the people right there. I think this was probably shot with a telephoto, so it really, it's one thing that telephoto lenses do, really compress the foreground background, so it really looks like these people are right there with the birds. I don't think they're that close, but they're still pretty close.
Yeah. My only feedback would be just to straighten your horizon, because it's a little crooked.
It is leaning a little, Bobby.
But then again, that just plays up on the entropy theme.
You're willing to let a little crooked horizon go, huh?
I'm just saying that I'm open for interpretation of a crooked horizon.
Next, you'll be voting sunset pictures in as winners.
I have nothing against sunset pictures.
I know, it's just our shtick. We gotta stick. Everybody's gotta have a shtick.
I don't have a shtick. I am a complex human being who changes their mind about things all the time.
That's true.
Okay, let's go to first runner-up.
The only thing that
Stop.
I'm sorry. First runner-up is
Stay on
that this
topic.
one?
Yeah.
First runner-up is Luis Bello's Aniversario. Now, I think this is a fantastic image, but I would not pick this in the realm of winners or honorable mentions for Entropy.
Well, I think it's a little unfair that you don't really spend time picking your winners and then you just decide that you want to argue with me about
I know.
who wins and who doesn't. I think next week
we each pick one winner and one honorable mention.
That sounds good.
We just figured that out.
I don't know. I like a few more honorable mentions, but okay.
Yeah. One, and we'll figure that out and actually do it. I think this is a well, tell us why you picked this.
Well, because I think there's a lot of stuff going on. There's you've got little circles, you've got triangles, you've got rectangles, you've got all of these different lines, but the picture is still really pleasing to look at. So it's chaotic, but it is composed in such a way that my eye doesn't get overwhelmed and it still is able to just navigate from point to point. And it's a very pleasing image to my eye. So I think the perspective is really cool. So I like the cropping, I like the composition, and everything is just kind of compartmentalized. So I like that a lot about it. So that's why I like it.
I think it's a fantastic image. It just again, I don't think it fits Entropy perfectly, but we've got such really cool textures on top of all of these different lines and geometric shapes. It's just really neat. Great shot, great angles, very nicely done. Luis Bello. That's how I'm going to say that name.
Luis. I think his name is Luis.
And now.
And the winner.
Is.
Anne's picture. So here's why I love this picture. When I was scrolling down and looking at all the pictures submitted, this one was one where my eyes felt like they could sort of rest. There is a lot of chaos and a lot of different lines and elements and colors and things going on, but it still feels very just designed and stylized and just very nicely put together. So you did mention that the tulip, which is supposed to be the focus of the image, is out of focus, which I do agree that that's kind of distracting. It actually just looks kind of like a ball. It doesn't really look like a tulip. But the surrounding elements, I think, are what drew me to like this picture so much. So.
Okay. Again, I think this is another nice photo. I don't believe that I would have picked it as my winner, but I do think it is great for Entropy because of the way of these overlapping leaves and this repetition and kind of just jumble of craziness. So
way to undermine all of my picks.
I'm sorry. We will do it differently next week so that we only support each other and no undermining. All right? Now that everybody's wondering.
Were you going to talk about some other ones that you did like, or are you just gonna not?
Well, you know what? Let's see. What did I have here? Oh, we both agree on this one. It's still on the screen. Okay, yeah. See Davy B's. Just a neat shot. I think the black and white works really well here, and you know, there's so much going on between the motion in the street and the lines going down the street and everything coming in from the side. And I like that. I think it's a strong image. Roger has this, oh no, this is the one I picked. I think this is just another great, I think this looks like sparks flying from welding or maybe some kind of fireworks shooter or something. But I think that again here, this black and white tone works really well. And not too long of a shutter speed, just long enough to just blur a little bit of this motion and just a ton of it, but you get the general idea of the direction. I like that one as well.
Yep, great. All right.
Thank you all to everybody who participated, and get out there and find, oh, we didn't say yet. I thought we'd already said.
Oh, right. So next week's assignment is monochromatic.
PRTV_MC.
Yep. And so monochromatic.
Yeah.
We're not talking about black and white strictly, although you can do black and white. But just, you know, it can be any color. It can be, you know, a range of hues of a certain color. You know, I think, and a good example that comes to mind is Tony's picture that he submitted for minimalism, the picture of the blue room and the bookshelf with the DVD on it.
I think that was Roger.
Oh, was it Roger? Maybe Roger's then.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Minimalism. I can't spell it. Can't get to it. Because it was minimal.
Right,
There
minimal.
we go. Minimal.
All right.
It was, which I love in looking back at these. They're so nice. So I think we'll see similar things. Yep, this is the one you're talking about here. So mono being one. Yeah, this is Roger's. And
Sorry, Roger.
chromatic being color. To stall for time as we figure that out. No. So yeah, not strictly black and white. How
Right.
about selective coloring? Well, let me ask you two things. One, do you have in mind, is Photoshop okay? Somebody can take an image and really desaturate it and or apply a tone to it to get a kind of monochromatic image.
You know what? Do whatever you want. There's no rules really, other than just try to follow or use that word to guide you, I guess.
How about if I take a picture like Anne's, the one that just one, or and have that everything black and white except the tulip yellow?
Well, we know how we feel about selective coloring. That's not really monochromatic either. That's like that's already two colors. There's the grayscale and then there's the color, so it's not really monochromatic.
Is the
at all.
grayscale color? Do you count that as color?
It's definitely not monochromatic.
Okay. Okay. What are we going to talk about next?
Well, let's take a look. So, in case you missed it this past week,
Video went out. I've wanted to make this video for quite a while now. And that is, should you buy your DSLR with a kit lens? The feedback on this video is fantastic. I love it. I thought I'd get a little bit more pushback from some people, but just about every comment is agreeing, saying I bought mine with a kit lens and I am quite happy. Now, funny enough, I have the T6S here without a kit lens at the moment, but really at this moment in time, we are past the point of these terrible kit lenses. It used to be true, but even when they were bad, they still have other benefits associated with them that I talk about in this video. So if you haven't watched it, go take a moment and watch it. The one thing I didn't put in the video, I thought about it, I struggled. We're really trying to keep videos shorter these days and more tightly compacted. And that is talking about full frame kit lenses. Because the value there, we are talking, there is a significant increase in price. They are full frame, they're glass, they often offer maybe a constant aperture, like for instance 24 to 105 from Canon f4. Their value though is not as good. That doesn't mean I'm saying you shouldn't buy them at all. It doesn't mean I feel completely differently than I do about crop sensor kit lenses. but I certainly pause. It's not an automatic, that's probably the best option for you. It's more of a, well, let's talk about what you want to shoot, because there are some other options that are about the same price. The first one that comes to mind for me is the Tamron 28-75 f2.8. You give up IS, but you get f2.8, and you give up a little bit of range, and you get sharpness. That's a nicer lens than the 24-105. But again, 24-105 and the Nikon 24-120, they're good all-around lenses, and you do have to spend usually a little bit more to get something better. So that's the only catch to that video. That's really targeted at your crop sensors. And people have been doing great comments. I asked people to share, what is the lens or lenses you've upgraded to. Lots of comments about primes. And if it's not a prime, a lot of people upgraded to the Sigma 18-35 f1.8, which you're giving up a little bit of range there, but as I've said in that review of that, it's basically like gaining a bag full of primes, because you've got 18-35 range at f1.8 and it's freaking sharp, so sharp. So that's nice. And a lot of people upgraded to primes. A lot of people used my suggestion. I mean, it wasn't my suggestion because they just figured it out on their own. Walk around with your kit lens at different focal lengths, or review your images when you start to think about what your next lens is, and say, well, what focal lengths am I shooting at often? And buy a prime in that focal length. Or if you find yourself shooting at 55 all the time and wishing you were closer, well, then you're going to buy a zoom lens. And it's funny, every once in a while I get comments from people who have a little bit of gear acquisition syndrome. It's easy. It's so easy to get that. And the question is, here's what I have, what should I get next? It's like, whoa, what are you doing with what you got? One, it's probably fine for now. I know new things are fun. I feel incredibly lucky to have made this my job and get new things often in here. But the reality, most of the things I have to send back, the reality is you gotta look at what you have, what you're doing with it, and ask yourself, do I really need anything else right now? Or should I spend that money on a little trip where I'm gonna take some pictures or enjoy myself? So. You don't get buried with your, I was gonna say you don't get buried with your lenses. Right now I have a picture in my mind.
You don't get buried with your pictures either.
No, I was trying to say the physical stuff doesn't go with you into the afterlife. I have a picture in my mind of like King Tut being marched into the pyramid with like lots of lenses coming along. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. So that was that. And surprisingly, the one other video was I did a quick hands-on with Google Photos this week. We'll come back and talk about that in the news section a little bit about Google Photos. But I have to say, I was working anyway before this announcement on moving most of my personal pictures from SmugMug to Google. Mostly because they just seem a little more accessible to me when they're on Google. I'm always logged into Google. It does between the face recognition and the tagging. It was really easy to find stuff, and so I've been moving over other stuff. It's making a little bit of mess, as there's some photos, some years of photos that don't seem to have good EXIF information with them, so that's messy. But the upside is I keep getting these little notices on my phone. Google Assistant has made X for you. And so it is taking all of these collections of photos and making stories and collages and little video things that are going together. And it's been enjoyable to watch that. Now I gotta figure out how to...
It's been really random sometimes too, like...
Yes.
Like one time, I think we like drove by this one town in New Hampshire, and like the title of it was like... Or no, the funny one was like, we spent a day somewhere here in Vermont, and then for some reason I picked up a picture from when we were out in Washington, and it was like a day in Washington and Vermont, which is just strange.
Yeah,
cause
it's, but I think...
But it is amazing technology.
Ooh, you said amazing. I think
it's pretty cool.
It's just going to get better, and I tell you, there's so many pictures I've shot over the last 10 years that I've never done anything with. And there were some time lapses I shot that I never did anything with. And then all of a sudden I'm getting on my phone this message, we've made an animation for you. It was an animation of this time lapse I never put together. And there it is. I
thought you were going to talk about this later though.
Well, I'm going to talk about the downsides later.
Okay.
So that was all the upsides. Let's talk about the downsides in a little bit later.
So
coming up.
Not coming up.
Oh.
right?
This little section right here. Right.
Oh, is that week ahead or is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The week ahead.
In the week ahead, you may have noticed some pictures that were posted on your Instagram.
That's right. Can we come back over to my Instagram for a second? I posted this picture and said, "What is this?" And lots of people had great guesses. A lot of fun. Do you remember these from the magazine when you're little? Like,
nope.
There was like a Kids National Geographic I used to get that would always have like 3 pictures and you have to guess what they are. So there's that one. And what this is water briefly, I guess it isn't really defying gravity. It is caught in a moment right after, let me go to the other one, a balloon holding that water was popped. And so here's the full picture. Captured this week with this little Miops device that I mentioned, I teased on Instagram earlier this week. I was out trying to use the light sensor to capture lightning during the day, which is tricky during the day because unless you buy a dedicated lightning sensor, your goal usually, or your technique is usually to open up the shutter for a couple seconds and pray a bolt of lightning happens while it's open. Much easier at night because you don't get like overexposed images over and over again. But this has a little light sensor, so we can trigger the shutter fast enough to capture those bolts so you can keep your shutter speed slower so you don't blow it out. It also has a sound sensor. And I started to make the little overview review of it. And I was like, you know what? I would like to actually go try this. I never have. And Scott had written up a nice tutorial. I read through the little tutorial. I was like, all right, that sounds pretty good. It'll not only plug into your camera to trigger it, it will also plug into a flash. It's got a little flash cord and it's got a different port for that. And you use the sound sensor to trigger the flash when it hears a sound. And so, are we on? We can come back to me.
We were on you.
Oh, we were on me. Went back to that again. Sorry. So then what you do is you stand in a dark room, you open up the shutter for like a second or so, throw the dart, hit the balloon, it pops, which makes the flash fire, and the flash of light is incredibly brief, short duration, and is fast enough to catch this action. Why you can't just have a brightly lit room and trigger the camera is there's too much lag. You know, one of the reasons people move up to DSLRs from point and shoots is to get rid of the lag. Well, there's still enough lag that you're not going to capture fast action like this, a balloon in mid-pop with the water still suspended, or people shoot light bulbs and different things like that. So it's really neat, and I was really happy with the shot. I got a couple other ones, and I'm going to do a couple more. This was with the 5D Mark III, but I'm going to do some more and have a little tutorial for you all in the next couple of days with the T6S and probably the 50. And you don't have to have a fancy camera because again, the flash is doing all of the work. And the reason why the flash is so nice is because that flash of light is incredibly brief in its duration, especially on the lower powers. So one of the things I learned recently about, well, not recently, but not that long ago about flashes is it's the length of time that the flash, it always flashes at the same brightness. It just varies its length of time.
Yep.
To us, it's always just this incredibly short flash. But when you do it at full power, it's like I don't know. I don't even know what I know that the lower, it's like 1/3000th of a, no, 32,000th of a second.
I don't know the exact speed, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting out of ourselves. What else is coming up? Oh, we did a critique this week.
Oh, we did. That's right. Of the assignment for May.
The assignment for May.
Which was cropping.
Don't get confused because we've got the weekly Instagrams and we also have the monthly assignments where you submit at Raw Doctor. There's also Raw Doctor, but I need to do a new page for people to submit. That will be out in a few days, and we critiqued some nice cropping images and the month of June's assignment. So this is images you go out and create and then submit to us before the end of June is long exposure. I want to see your best 1 second or longer exposures. Okay.
And this is on photorec.tv/raw doctor. That's where you submit as of right now. If you wanted to submit a picture today or tomorrow or the next day, you go to photorec.tv/raw doctor.
Raw Doctor.
Speaking of Raw Doctor, we will be doing a Raw Doctor later today.
Short one.
Yes, very, very short one.
Yeah,
but
we've already been rolling for 30 minutes.
I know, because you've been talked.
Oh, you know, I want to say one other thing about this Miops. The trigger trap guys also make something. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let me try it. At the same time, I got everything hooked up. I could not get the trigger trap to fire the flash fast enough. There was a slight delay, and I know other people have been happy. I've seen pictures produced by other people using the trigger trap stuff, Scott's stuff. The tutorial was originally written for the trigger trap, so I need to look into my settings a little bit more and figure out what was wrong there. But because the trigger trap guys, that's cheaper. You use your smartphone, you just need to buy the dongle. The Miops thing is about $200, but it does have these other things built in, and you can talk to it wirelessly with your phone via Bluetooth.
Yep. Now
Why did it
moving
get called Bluetooth?
on to news.
But we didn't. We got that section I just make up every once in a while of like what arrived this week in the office. So I just want to share real quick. This is kind of like it's coming up, not next week, but sometime soon. We've got a Canon 600 RT flash here. This is a well-used, we use a little blue tape to keep track of which one is which at weddings. 2 seasons now, going strong, no issues at all with these things. Love them. Every once in a while they seem to like not want to talk to each other, but then we just give them a stern talking to and they get back in line. Just arrived today, Yongnuo's clone. Look at this thing. It is identical. It is identical. Interestingly enough, there is a little port up here I peeled off. It's like, ooh, USB. It's like the Canon doesn't have that, does it?
What I thought was really funny was you came up and you showed it to me and you were like, look, it looks identical to the 600 RT, $125. And then this falls off.
Yes.
So yes, you're getting what you pay for.
No, you said.
Let's be clear.
You said, how does Canon feel about that? What's the difference or whatever? And as we were saying that, like the little rubber thing fell off. That's the big answer right there is build quality. I would be nervous about going into wedding after wedding with this. But I have to say right now. So if you need something that needs to be reliable because you're under a lot of pressure to perform a certain task using that, then you probably want to go with like an official Canon. I mean, you can never like 100% rely on anything, but I think that the likelihood of this underperforming or not performing versus the Canon RT, although, you know, we've been having some issues with the channels and stuff. Well, just sometimes it loses. That's what I said, gives stern talking to. I think one of the things we'll look at this when we look at the Tamron lens take apart from lens rental guys. One of the things you're paying for when you pay extra for something like Canon is quality control. I mean, there is some of that money goes to people on the factory line, more people probably than in the Yongnuo, who carefully test and make sure the flashes rolling off the assembly line or coming out of the factory are going to work. And I think you have a little bit less chance of that with the Yongnuo. But that said, for general use, a little bit less hard use, gosh, it saves you 124 versus, what are these guys, $499?
No, they are almost 600, I believe.
That's a huge savings.
Or that's how much I bought them for. They could be lower.
I think they've come down a little bit, but not that much. Yeah, that's the same. Also, in the realm of lighting gadgets, and also saving money, I don't even know who makes this.
That's convenient.
But look at this thing. Operated by 2 Sony batteries.
So let's try something. Let's see.
What are we trying? Ooh. So the whole thing lights up. It's a big, that's bright. Ooh, I'm getting a suntan. Gotta get my other side too. This is nice. This seems like a nice, well-made.
Is that how you change? You can change the color.
You can change the color. Yeah.
We're not really sure. We're not really sure about the.
What aren't we sure?
The rating. So LED panels are based on a particular rating that sort of tells you how accurate the color is and how good the color is. So I don't have any idea what the rating for this thing is, but it looks pretty nice. It looks like it produces very nice soft light.
We'll be testing it and trying it out. How would we use something like that?
Well, I have a shoot tomorrow, and I was thinking about using it. It's just going to be a shoot for our local fitness center.
Oh, well.
Just doing some portraits.
Well, why would you use that instead of
I'm just
flashes?
Well, it's a consistent light source, so I know where the light is, so it saves me a lot of time. Plus, it's nice and big, so I can use it. I would use it as a rim light more than anything. But I think its primary purpose is for video, not photography. Although it can be used for photography. Yeah. But yeah, it's a video light.
Okay, good. I think that's all that I want to talk about that's coming to the office. So, exciting stuff. Actually, I have something really cool arriving tomorrow. Stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram because that's probably the first place I'll post interesting bits like that.
Yep. So now we can move on to news.
Great.
And the first thing that we want to talk about is, I think...
Phase 1's XF medium format camera system.
Yeah, and we don't really want to talk too much about that, do we?
No. I really just want to... It was actually Tony Northrup who tweeted this earlier. It caught my eye. This screen right here. It is gorgeous. Come on, other camera manufacturers.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Step up and give us something beyond the kind of boring LCD. I love the top information. Now let's make it slick and neat. So it's completely touch with a Retina touchscreen back there. Which one of the things that we hear from time to time is people, I shot this picture, it looked fine on the back of the screen, but when I got to the computer, yeah, you know what? These screens on the back are pretty low res still. And
they're
so having a higher
pretty
res
unreliable.
Retina-like, that's going to be nice. Okay, good.
Yep. All right, so next thing on the list is Canon has extended their mail-in rebates until July 4th.
Yeah, so we won't mention how last week I said this is probably it for the rebates because we go into the summer drought, but whatever. You know, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut about stuff like that. So we've got some additional rebates that are good until July 4th. So we've got a month here of some decent savings. Search my channel I go through all of these lenses and talk about the ones I think are very good values and the other ones that aren't so much. But 17-40, 7200 f4, great value lenses.
Yep.
So thank you, Canon, for continuing those rebates and taking a little of the Canon tax off.
Yeah. So next in the rumor mill, Canon 6D, a new Canon 6D coming in 2016.
Yep.
Smaller, lighter, but more powerful.
That's all we know. That's the rumors. No specs at all yet. No word about whether we have an articulating screen, but we have this information that, well, one, not till 2016. And rumors like that are usually correct, I'm going to say. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden it's going to show up in the fall. So I know there's a good number of people really holding out hope for it coming sooner, but I think 2016 is going to be it. And smaller, lighter, clearly to compete with the Sony A7 stuff, but a little bit more powerful, which
Still a DSLR though. I mean, I feel like those guys are on a different league.
I think
sensor-wise and portability-wise.
Well, yes, but I think there are some people who decide, and we've said on this channel multiple times, if you're just talking about general photography and travel, you don't need a 6D or a 5D Mark III. These Sonys are nice. I'm not saying they're perfect and they're a camera everybody should buy, but if you're looking for a full frame, just general purpose camera, those Sonys are very nice.
Yeah.
What was one of the things to say? Oh, and also for general purpose travel, I get asked questions, 6D versus 5D Mark III. Fine, 6D,
yeah,
it's fine. It's a good, and with its recent price drops, it's a very nice value.
Yeah. So GoPro HERO, new GoPro with an LCD screen.
Yep. So this
built
is like
into it?
Built into the back.
So they've finally budged and given us an LCD.
Yep. Well, they did, you could.
And it's tiny, or not tiny, it's reasonably priced also.
That's right. Well, this is their low-end model. It does not shoot 4K, but it does have this LCD, and it's touch, and what was the other thing I want to say? Oh, it has Wi-Fi.
It's touch, huh?
Yeah. So I think this is gonna, what has been my pick for budget GoPro so far has been the Hero Silver 3. Which was kind of the, is that right, Silver 3? That was, you know, the older model, but it gave you everything you needed and Wi-Fi. Now this one takes it up a notch and gives you an LCD for about the same price, $299. So this is nice if you're thinking about getting a GoPro. I kind of wanted to joke that the GoPro is running as our backup camera, but never mind. I've had the GoPro now for a year and a half, and I've used it more than I thought I would.
Have you found that you have kept a lot of those things, a lot of the footage? So there's one thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. We
it.
talked about this in Yellowstone on the McKay trip. We went snowmobiling that one day, and we had stories about that. If you want to watch that, you can watch that. But during that snowmobile trip, we passed lots of other snowmobilers. So many of them had GoPros on their head, and I had that thought. Actually, I think I was talking with Randall. I said, how much of this footage are they going to go watch? It's kind of like the days that still happen somewhat, but you saw this more in the old days of everybody has a handy cam. Walking around Disney World.
Who wants to watch shaky ass footage of people's? Sorry.
Yeah. So it's true. And when you shoot at the higher quality of the GoPro, these files they're big quickly. I have a handful of time lapses that I like, and I have a couple other quick clips that I like, but it's true that there's not a ton. I took it for a bike ride the other day because I wanted to try out Microsoft's new hyperlapse software that will take shaky footage and speed it up and make it much smoother. So,
but you've got to have like really interesting scenery. You can't just like go on a bike ride and then.
You feel like you have to have, but there's a lot of people out there that are like, I'm about to drive from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Let's do a time lapse.
And we have seen people who have like.
I've done it.
Well, yes, I know. And then we watch the footage and we're like, this is the most boring thing on earth. Like, why did we bother to do this?
Yeah. And the GoPro
I just
4
like to have opinions.
Thu says the GoPro 4 Silver does have an LCD screen. It does, but that is I think, what is that, $399? $100 more.
Yeah.
So they're trying to come in with a budget.
So.
And Jill's in the chat, and she reminded us that we used the GoPro to do a time lapse of a board game once.
That's right, yeah.
Super nerdy. Can you get more nerdy?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Have we watched that ever since we watched it that one time and we decided that it wasn't that interesting? Nope. We never watched it again. But we can say we did a time lapse of a game. Anyway, next.
Well, that's where this software, I think it's called Atrix, comes in. This is a bit of software that is supposed to, you run on your smartphone and it talks to your GoPro. And I can't remember exactly how it works, but it is supposed to help you find these moments that are most exciting, where you've done the double, triple backflip, Daffy Duck quadruple off the ski jump, to when you hit the water in the inner tube at 60 miles an hour. I don't know. And it's supposed to mark these clips for you automatically. So again, I hope this stuff is coming sooner rather than later, that is going to help us be like, yeah, you were snowmobiling for an hour, and at 45 minutes for 2 minutes, you passed a moose in a pretty spot. So here's that spot. Everything else, just throw away.
I kind of feel bad for future generations that are going to have to like filter through all of like the most boring things that we did. Like, oh, bike ride. Oh, bike ride. Oh, like, you know, I don't know. Like,
Right.
we're just accumulating so much data.
We are. But there are
What's
uses
gonna
for this
happen to
data.
all
We should talk about the other part. Let's try to move on.
Let's move on. So next is a time lapse of the World Trade Center being built over 11 years. So it's pretty cool. I wish it was a little bit shorter, to be honest with you. But it's very cool so you can actually probably speed it up, Toby, because just so that everybody gets the full effect of it.
Speed. Does everybody know you can do this on YouTube? You can turn
You should do the fastest one.
Even 2? Okay.
Yeah,
let's go to 2. Christina says, no wasting your time. Go to 2.
Well, I watched it and I felt like it wasn't.
It doesn't.
Maybe that's just too jerky then.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We don't want to take away from these people's views too. So go to Petapixel has it. All these links. Oh, I haven't put these links in the show notes. I'll put these links in the show notes in a minute. But it is neat how they've done this. Where, how do they do it?
I was wondering that. I was hoping that you maybe could tell me that, because I was
I think we've got, this kind of comes back to what you were just saying of we've got cameras all over the place recording stuff. And so this then...
So was it multiple people?
I think...
It says there's a logo. It says Earth Cam.
Oh, well, Earth Cam, they run a network of web and like weather cams. And so one, I think they probably had some that were just already pointed in the general direction because Manhattan skyline, or actually it's technically Manhattan because it's the lower part. I don't know. I don't know my New York geography enough. But they also probably set some up and said, you know what? Here we are building this huge building, has significant meaning. Let's carefully record it. And hundreds of thousands of high-definition images were captured over the past 11 years and hand-edited for this exclusive time-lapse movie. All the photos and the original camera have been donated to the National September 11th Memorial Museum.
Pretty cool.
That is cool. So wait, there was just one camera? EarthCam is contributing. Earth's megapixel construction cameras, now they got plural, captured progress of the 110,000 square foot exhibit in the HD 13 Curie. Personally installed the first camera just days after the attacks to webcast the rescue and recovery for families. So, okay, so it sounded like there was the original and then they added ones to watch the BIM. This reminds me of something I wanted to talk about last week that didn't happen and ties in with this kind of like we're creating all of this data. Scientists are starting to mine this data, I read, at certain locations to see changes over time, like melting glaciers. They're not going and recording themselves, but they're saying, all right, we've got this, I think it was like some famous place in Norway, or that's where a lot of glaciers are, I'm gonna say. And, you know, they just mined Flickr for people's photos. They fed them all into a machine, kind of like the Microsoft Photosynth, which aligned them and said, okay, here's this rock point and this rock point, because everybody takes these pictures from a slightly different spot, but you know what? Honestly, a lot of people stand in the same spot. And then you have this time lapse that spans multiple years from multiple people, thousands and thousands of people, and that's pretty neat to be able to take this technology in there. So they're using, they said Flickr, really cool. Picasso Web.
Yeah, I hadn't actually, you told me about that, but when we were talking about all the data and the boring bike rides and stuff, I didn't actually think of that, but it's true. I mean, yeah, you could potentially do lots of cool things with, you know, everybody helping sort of put together a record of just about everything. I mean, what doesn't get documented these days? So, okay, so next thing is, so this is pretty cool. Another Petapixel article about $60,000 broadcast lens on a GH4, and the quality is incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah. This is equivalent of a 43mm to 2,400mm lens. So it can go from those two people having a little like picnic moment to being able to count the freckles on this young lady. You know, used a little adapter to do that. Pretty amazing. We're filming with the GH4 right now, not with a $60,000 lens, but it is a very nice little camera. So you guys couldn't
tell.
That's right. I'm sorry you can't zoom in and count my pores from there, but okay.
All right. Yep. Pretty cool stuff. Let's see what's next.
Oh, we could mention, do you have that page up of, we could check in and see where I am in my subscribers, because I am nearing 100,000 subscribers for those watching live. Those watching after the fact later than tonight, I might hit 100,000. It's kind of exciting. But it is just a number.
So if you haven't subscribed and you're watching right now, do it.
That's right.
Subscribe. Or this is a thumbs up, but
that helps too.
Thumbs up button sign. But you should just subscribe.
That's right. It's exciting. People have asked, do we have any special plans? No, but unrelated.
Oh. Yeah, I guess we should talk about it now.
The giveaway?
Yes.
Yes.
Giveaway. I feel like we should have talked about it.
I mentioned it last week. I'm giving away a Canon lens. Sorry for folks who don't shoot Canon, but honestly, I didn't plan this giveaway. I just ended up with an extra one because of ordering snafus, and I could send it back, but it's a little bit more exciting to give it away. So all you got to do is head over to photorec.tv/giveaway and put in your email. It's just for my newsletter. There are ways to earn bonus entries though. Take advantage of those. I would recommend that you do. And I hope you win. Open worldwide except where prohibited, 18 and older. Thank you. Now, back to news.
Yep.
I love the stuff that they do at Lens Rentals from time to time. Roger, they got their hands on the new Tamron 50, they've had the Tamron 15-30 f2.8. This is the lens I reviewed as part of my ultra wide. Loved the fact that it could go so wide and it had such a wide aperture. I didn't love how heavy it was. They had a couple broken ones come back in and they went to take it apart. And I'm just gonna scroll through rather quickly, but it gives me the heebie-jeebies looking at these pictures because I mean, this is a fairly complicated lens as it is, but I think this gives you an incredible insight into why certain lenses cost the way they do, and kind of, I have to honestly say that they're as cheap as they are. These are not just some bit of electronics smooshed together inside a little box. These are highly accurate optical stuff, and the take it apart, they said they take a lot of stuff apart. They're able to put things back together. That is makes them much different than me. But they have all these shims. This is the first kind of picture that gave me heebie-jeebies. Look, these little shims that keep everything lined up just right. They're teeny tiny. And they said that the way it is designed, some of them actually fall out as soon as you take one element. So you're not sure exactly where that shim came from.
Yikes.
Also, interestingly enough, they said that, well, the gist of the article is they found the issue was just a screw that had come a little loose. They don't think this is a widespread issue. That's not the point of the article. That the lens is very well put together, very well sealed, but it is not a nice modular design like some of the more recent Canons are. Whereas if you have something breaks, Canon can be like, oh, we'll take off that broken part and put on the new. In this case, the part that's probably most likely to break is that front hood. And the thing has to be completely disassembled for that front hood to be removable. Completely.
Wow.
That was one thing that they were surprised about. But just, if you like nerdy stuff, and while you're, as somebody said, this whole nerd chat room is pretty nerd fest, you could take a few moments and go through and look and read. There's not a lot to read. It's really kind of a picture show of them taking this lens apart. And they really took them a while, and there we go. There is once they had all of the bits apart, and that's including glass stuff, and the fact that they can get it all back together and optically line it up and make it perfect. I struggle to make a lens that's not taken apart optically perfect when I'm doing like little micro focus adjustments, and here they are, one that they took apart. So
pretty crazy. Crazy
stuff. Go take a look at their stuff right there. All right.
Yep. So next on here is, so I thought this was really cool. It is from PhotoJojo, and it's one photographer's picture of an entire year, and we'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But so this photographer took the same exact picture, I think, every day for a year.
That's right.
And then put them all together, so aligned all the pixels.
He took a picture every 30 minutes for a year.
Oh, wow.
Left him with 16,000 images.
Wow.
He picked out 3,888 of them and used a bit of code to stitch them into a single
that's
image.
Cool.
Can we get a bigger view of the image? If I click right here, will it be bigger?
Perhaps. There we go. It's not bigger.
And you can click, and there we go. Bigger. That's pretty neat. We have talked about the kind of selfies that people do of themselves.
Yeah.
And this isn't a completely novel idea. People have done it in other locations, or like a single tree. But I think this is one of the more detailed ones that's ever been done, and put together really neatly as well. I think that it looks nice. But this is a fun activity to go someplace and photograph it at different times of the year. And you could be, I was gonna say anal, but you could be precise and try to take the same picture from the same spot. But it's also fun to just try to capture different pictures in different spots. If you live in some place with the seasons, that'd kind of be boring if you lived in the desert.
That's true.
But I'm sure the desert some places change through the years. Well, I know they do. But so it's neat. Here, I want somebody to do this. This is my idea that I haven't seen done yet, and I'm gonna release it to the world. I'd like to see something like this in motion. I would like to, I just haven't done it, every day walk down the sidewalk a little bit in front of the house, down the street, and take a picture. And the next day, go out to that same spot, take one step forward, and take a picture. And over a year, you know, it wouldn't be that far, but so then you have this motion through time.
I like the idea.
Had I never told you?
You'd never told me, no.
So.
Good luck finding the exact same spot, though.
Yes. I've thought about that.
Seems tricky.
It would be tricky. But the thing is, you wouldn't have to get it so, well, I mean, you wouldn't have to get it perfectly, because you could say, you could skip that image if you were a little bad and go, you know, 2 forward or 3 forward. Like this guy, he pulled out, you know, a third of the images he used. So you don't have to use all of them.
Yep. Alrighty. So that's it for news for today. And, well, so should we talk about Raw Doctor, or should we talk about our sponsor first?
We should talk about our sponsor, which is us.
Okay, wonderful. So if you guys, I think a lot of you watching already have our Lightroom series videos, and judging by all the comments on the private Facebook group, you guys have really been using them to make awesome pictures. So we wanted those who have not yet had an opportunity to buy them an opportunity to do so. So starting today, for those of you who are watching, we have created a coupon code to take advantage of the full set of videos for $19.99 from now until Monday. So this coupon expires Monday at midnight. Monday is what date?
Monday? Oh, you don't have that calendar thing on your thing. Monday.
The 8th.
The 8th.
The 8th of June.
Okay.
It expires. And you can go to photorec.tv/shop and just select the entire series, and then enter the coupon code PRLive60 on checkout.
Well, they select the one product that is the entire series.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't have to put all of the different ones in the box.
That's right.
Yep. And we have started to update with the Lightroom 6 content. Lightroom 6/CC.
Yeah.
That content is slowly being added. We added one of my favorite features, just a short video of the editable gradients now. So you can use the brush tool to edit the gradients. That's in there. If you've purchased in the past, you have access to that. And if you're a Patreon supporter, a little as $3 a month gets you access to all of this as well.
Yeah. And actually, I thought I saw this on the news section, but I feel like it seems more appropriate to talk about it now. But it is, so we caught this Periscope the other day.
Oh, yes.
Of an introduction of a new Lightroom tool that's coming to Lightroom CC or Lightroom 6. And it's the dehaze tool.
That's right. First,
have you guys heard of it?
For those who don't know, Periscope is that Twitter's live streaming app.
Yeah.
So we saw this little preview from one of the Adobe evangelists. I don't know if I love that name, Adobe Evangelist, about this dehaze filter feature coming very soon. So this was interesting to me. It seems like we are going to get additional features to Lightroom pretty soon. He said this is coming very soon. He wouldn't give an actual bit of information.
But he demonstrated.
He did. You were pretty poo-pooey.
Yes. Because,
Tell us why.
All right. So this is just me being like, you know, they're not really building in features that are more tailored towards professionals. They're sort of making it accessible to everybody, which I think is great. I think this should be easy to use for everybody and should be accessible for everybody. But at the same time, I feel like they're spending too much time on that, not enough time really building some of the features that they should probably build that would help us have a really good experience. And
us being professionals.
Yeah, us and you guys who, you know, have gone through the Lightroom series and have learned all of these tools. Or how to use all of these tools. But so the dehaze tool basically, so you have a hazy image. Which is,
scenic images very commonly, because of the way the air is, bits of pollution.
So it's like auto.
It's hazy.
It's like auto fix, auto contrast, auto saturation, auto sharpening, auto like everything. It just does it for you. Or on the other hand of things, if you have this image that you would like to make look more ethereal or more painterly,
ethereal,
you can turn it
so that you can join the
other way.
In heaven.
Yeah.
Heaven.
So I don't mean to sound like snobby at all.
Well, you did.
Well, I just feel like there's worth in knowing, you know, you're buying this thing that costs, you're spending a good bit of money on the software. I mean, you should be able to know. I guess there's no reason why you they're not mutually exclusive. You should be able to use the dehaze tool and then also be able to fine tune everything.
Right.
But I don't know. It just feels a little bit like.
Yeah. The first step to dehazing should be using a circular polarizer when you take the picture.
Right.
That cuts them out a huge amount of haze. Now I know that doesn't always work, but that's one way to do it. And two, I mean, you can dehaze your image now. You just need to do it in a couple of different sliders. Whereas this is just one. I'm not as grumpy as Christina about them adding it, but it does feel very consumer oriented, and I would like to see some more professional level oriented features. But I don't know what those are. Faster, a little bit smarter with the mobile. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna now move on to Raw Doctor.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at some images and edit them for you guys.
That's right. So we didn't get a Raw Doctor out this week because we had the monthly critique. So we're gonna scrunch a little bit of it into, what do you call this show we're doing right here? This mishmash. We're gonna mash a little Raw Doctor in here to this show, and I'm handing this off to Christina. Now, I thought it was appropriate. We had 2 lightning images come in the past couple of days, and I thought it would be appropriate to edit some lightning images because I was trying to capture some lightning images for no other reason.
Yeah.
So we've got this one here, RJ's lightning, and I think he said it's the first time he has captured lightning.
Very cool.
It is very cool. But Christina, can you fix it up for us a little bit and show some Lightroom tips and tricks of maybe dehaze this lightning?
Well, there's no haze in this lightning picture. It's actually pretty cool just as is. But the first thing that I would do is just add detail. So I'm going to set this to about 50, the radius to 1:1, and a little bit more detail. That's about as much as I typically do for sharpening, for standard sharpening, unless the image is softer than I would like. And this is also what the sharpening preset does that's included in the Lightroom series, just to speed up your workflow a little bit. I'm going to increase my clarity and vibrance to really make that purple pop a little bit more. And now I'm going to increase my contrast, and I'm going to bring up the shadows just a little bit to bring more of that cloud detail up, and then decrease my exposure just so that this area is a little bit more balanced. This is very, very bright. I want it to still be very noticeable. I want there to be a lot of contrast in this area right here. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm gonna clone all of this out. And before I clone all of this stuff out, I'm going to, so my exposure is at -20 right now. I'm gonna make it super bright just so that I can see what I'm working with exactly. Okay, so I've got these buildings.
Those clouds are intense.
They are very intense.
It's kind of interesting to see more of them, but I agree. I like this very little peak of this lightning through here. This reminds me of James and the Giant Peach visuals.
So the reason that I increase the exposure just to see all the detail here is because I don't want to just blindly clone this area out without really knowing everything that's here, because the brightness on brightness is different on different screens. So for example, while on my screen this area at an exposure of -20 looks very dark. If I look at it on my phone or I increase the brightness of my screen, this might look brighter, and then you might be able to see some of the stuff that I've corrected, and it's gonna look sloppy. So I want to increase the exposure, and now I'm going to make sure that I sort of tweak out
You're
some of
basically
these.
cloning it out in a way that if this was going to be visible, it would still look good.
That's right.
Okay.
So these lights were very distracting, so all I'm using is the clone tool in Lightroom. I selected the clone tool, and it's on. I'm gonna turn it to heal, and I'm gonna increase the opacity so that it heals everything. I'm not seeing a difference. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so now we don't have any of that bright light. I'm gonna go over here and do the same thing right here. And sometimes it just jumps to something completely random. So
it usually works fairly well. I will say that there's a couple places I've noticed, you can keep working while I'm blabbing, you know, slowdowns in the new version. It was supposed to be faster. It really depends on your graphics card. This laptop we're working on right here, I don't believe I've made this change, but on my own laptop, I have turned off the GPU acceleration and found it to be much smoother. I haven't made any comparisons against 5. I don't know if it's faster or slower than 5, Lightroom 5, but it does seem to be better than it was with those GPUs on. When I was doing brush strokes or brush editing, it would lag a bit.
So this is kind of a big area, and this part's gonna be a little bit tricky, I think, to really make it appear natural. But we'll see what it does. It's not too bad.
Especially if you zoom out. Maybe we should only do a little bit of this, so we have a good amount of time for reader questions as well.
Sure.
But this is where I heard you say this from your office the other day, that sometimes content-aware fill in Photoshop blows your mind with how well it can work.
Yeah, so content-aware fill is a really nice tool, and I really like it. So in this situation, I've just used the heal tool to clone this area out, but because it's so bright, the clone tool or the heal tool, usually what it does is just samples the texture and some of the color. So even if it's at 100 opacity and this is really dark, it's still gonna sample parts, the colors from the original part of the image, and going to combine those two things. So I'm gonna change this to clone so that it actually makes it look completely dark. And even then, for some reason, it's not totally, I think it might be the feather, or I just didn't paint that area right there.
Yeah, I think too much feather.
So I mean, so I can just go over it again.
And so as I started to say, the content-aware fill in Photoshop, this is where it's nice if you've bought into the Creative Cloud package and you have both available to you, or you just have both available to you, doing a quick round trip to Photoshop, doing some content-aware fill, which can often do an amazing job.
And much more quickly.
Right, faster.
So yeah. So it'll do a good job, and it'll be quick.
At some point in the future, we should show that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's really it. So I'm going to just move this over here. Again, I'm just sampling from this area because that's just the cleanest, most consistent spot. Okay, and now I'm going to go back down to my original exposure that I had set. Oops. And I'm still seeing a couple of things right here, so I would just, you know, we're not going to take care of it now because we're going a little bit over.
Yeah. Would you crop this at all?
I might crop it to have it centered, to have the ray of lightning be completely centered. But that's it.
Okay.
I wouldn't crop it too much.
You like the negative space.
I do. I think there's a lot of impact just from the tiny, and I love the colors. I wouldn't do any color retouching on it. I just think the purple's really, really cool.
Okay, let's switch to the next lightning one, because I think that one could use some color retouching.
All right.
And this is, again, I think we saw the power of shooting raw in that last one, of how you were able to crazy bring up those shadows. But in this case, being able to bring down that, I mean, this is bright.
Yeah.
And because this is a raw, though, okay, go ahead. I'm getting the quiet sign.
So yeah, so I'm seeing here in my histogram that I'm clipping some of these highlights. I'm gonna roll over here. I can see that it's just a lightning bolt, so it's not a big deal if that's clipped. But let's just bring the exposure way, 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 way down. There's a good bit of detail that's been lost. And this is one of those situations where, like, if you had the dehaze tool, it probably would do a pretty quick job. Again, I'm gonna go to my detail.
When you say good details have been lost, but you're talking about in the bolt. I mean, what details are there in the bolt?
No, I know, but it just doesn't look like, do you see these look like little tiny veins, but this looks, I don't know. It just looks a little bit thicker. But it's still, I mean, I think all of these little, I guess, the tentacles or whatever you might call them, the rays.
Leaders. I think that's what they're called.
They're really cool. So it's not a big deal.
Well, can we just talk about how amazing, can I just talk about how amazing lightning is for a minute while you're working on this? It's amazing, that's all.
Okay.
It's just amazing. If you've ever seen one of those, you should go search slow-mo lightning videos, because you get to see this whole, you know, how these little leaders search out, find a path to the ground, and then the big bolt follows. I think there's some rumors or some people say that lightning actually travels up. That's not really true, but there is, charges going in both directions. But to watch this happen in slow-mo, and this is Darren, I believe, he's posted some of these shots too. Yeah, Darren. To our support group, I think it's exciting, fantastic.
I want to talk people through what I'm doing, so that's why I'm sort of asking. So right now I've selected the gradient tool, and I want to dodge a little bit of this. I don't know what it's going to look like because I haven't done this before, but I'm just going to give it a shot and try to bring up a little bit of detail from these houses. So let's see, let's add a little bit of contrast and bring up some of the highlights. And so now you've got a little bit of just the highlights on the roofs of these houses that are being lit by the ray of lightning, which I think it's kind of cool. It still feels a little bit flat, so I don't know. I mean, I guess in this situation, since there's not a ton of detail, I could really, really bump up my clarity.
It's not usual. It's not often that we bump clarity up that much.
No,
but I think it can work fine here.
I'm also seeing some ghosting, some just halos right around here, so I'm gonna just turn this down so that I see a lot less of it. And I could even go in and edit this and just erase it off of the edges, but I'm not going to do that because we don't.
With the new Lightroom 6 features.
And then last thing is I'm going to enable profile corrections just so that it naturally, I didn't do that on the last one, but that's something that you can do. And yeah, that's as far as I would take this picture.
You wouldn't change the temperature at all?
I might just try to make it maybe more purple. I like the purple. But you could make it blue or...
I like the blue.
Yeah, the blue's pretty cool. It looks very electric, I think.
Right, that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you to people who submitted to Raw Doctor. Raw Doctor should be back next week with a whole full-on episode packed full of us editing photos. So, photorec.tv/Raw Doctor to submit your images. And people in the support group, Patreon supporters who have access to the Lightroom support group, have been sharing raw images with each other for some tips and techniques. And I want to shout out to Roy, who fixed up, I don't remember who posted it for fixing, an old picture. He did an amazing job. The person who originally posted it had done a really great job as well. And I know that because I downloaded it and I was like, oh, I have a minute, I'll try playing around. And I started working on it and realized the sheer amount of work that it was going to take to make it look anything like what they had done. Luckily, Roy came along and made it look wonderful. So, it's cool. So that's one of the reasons. It says $3 a month to get you access to that group.
Yep. All right, so now we're going to move on to our discussion of the week. And
well, it's a short discussion.
Yeah.
That discussion is trust. Trusting companies with your images. It's interesting because, when Google I/O made this announcement about photos.google, I shared out a bit of information and pretty quickly have heard back from a couple people. And when I hear back from a couple people, that means lots more have the question, and that is, do you trust this company with all of your photos? And so I think that's a good question for us to ponder for a few moments. My answer is, first off, I don't put anything up there that I would be upset if it were public. That's the first thing. So if you put it on the web, you know, I think you should assume that it could be public to somebody at some point, even if you didn't want that. And then the second thing is, let's say you're not worried about, like, you know, somebody seeing a picture, but you just don't want maybe this company to use it in advertising, or, you know, you kind of, if you read the terms of service, it's scary because Google basically says, well, you're giving us these images. Most of that is there so that they can say, well, we got to back it up and keep it safe and access it if something goes wrong. So the other part of it, though, is I'm willing to trade some of this privacy concerns for value that I get in return. Being able to throw all my pictures on photos.google.com or google.photos, whatever it is, and then having it do facial recognition, having it automatically, I can search for cats, and it comes up with every cat I've ever owned. That is amazing. Not all of them are keyworded. It's using its image search recognition to find that. Some people find that creepy. I find that extremely helpful and useful, and it's taking stuff that I haven't done with my photos, some of my photos, years worth, and making them useful and searchable and findable. So I'm willing to trade some of this privacy for some of these features and conveniences.
Yeah.
If I wasn't getting anything like that, then I wouldn't be interested in sharing.
Right, so what about Facebook then?
What about Facebook?
Well, isn't it the same thing? You know, a lot of people are feeding all these images to Facebook, and, you know, they can share them with people. Facebook does not, you know, have those nice automation features to organize the pictures. So
why put pictures on Facebook?
Right. So I'm just, well,
I mean, I feel like, you know, the value you get from Facebook is really only people will see your pictures. Well,
so I forget where I heard this, but I think it was in regards to that photo, that art series, that photographer took from Instagram. He took all those pictures and then made it into a
Prince.
Yes, yeah, and he made it into a gallery exhibit, and I forget who was talking about it, but they said, you know, like, technically if you put your pictures on Instagram, in a way, they are sort of protected, because they're like, that means that no other person can, well, I wish I could remember the exact argument, but just in the sense that, like, if you submit pictures to Facebook and Instagram, they're not just going to use it for their own advertising purposes, because that would be a very, you know, like, people would pick up on that, and that would be very bad PR for them. And yes, you can say they're a really big company, they don't care about, you know, just a little bit of bad PR, but I think that they do. You know, they want people to continue to use the service. They don't want users to be turned off by that. So I think that while you are sort of signing the rights away to your images, I feel like that's just them sort of covering their butts in a way, just the way that, like, companies have agreements for different things.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, have we ever heard of Facebook or Instagram or Google or any other big company just taking a picture that somebody posted on their website and then just using it as an advertisement?
Well, Facebook, yes. Facebook has that. You have to opt out. I think this is still true. Pictures you post can be used in advertisements on Facebook to your friends. No, none of the other people do that.
I've never seen that.
I'm pretty sure. Somebody find that. Put a link.
I've never seen that.
Well, what I wanted to say was, okay, yeah, Facebook. First off, you shouldn't put your photos only on Facebook, because they horribly compress them, and then they're going to look bad, and that's not where you should keep your copy of photos. And what's nice about the Google is, if you want to upload the full resolution, you can. If you want to, say, make them 16 megapixels and not count against my space, you can as well. I had a good question. I should answer this question right now. If an image you upload to Google is less than 16 megapixels and you have Keep Original turned on, will it count against the free storage? Because that 16 megapixels is their cutoff. And the answer is yes, it will count towards, your overall storage, because you've said keep originals. So only if you say resize for me 16 megapixels and or smaller, if it's smaller, will it not count against your source. I don't know if I said that in the best way. But my other thing is, so all right, if you don't want to use Google, where do you put them? And that's where I think you go to someplace like SmugMug or Zenfolio, these more private companies than Google, whose single goal is to keep your photos safe and private.
But you have to pay a pretty big tag for it.
That's right. You pay.
So.
That's right. So
and who's to say that they don't have, the same sort of agreements?
They don't.
They don't.
I can say that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, they are both Zenfolio and SmugMug and others as well.
So Anne in the chat says that it is true about Facebook, and she deleted her account because she saw pictures of her friends in ads.
Yeah.
So
it's creepy.
I didn't know that.
But again, I come back to they provide me enough value at this time, especially as a person trying to run this business that lets me reach many of you, that value is enough that I'll grin and bear it. But yeah, it's not great. Flickr is good too. But you're in bed with Yahoo then in that case, which they've made some poor decisions in the past, and Flickr, Facebook, Google, I put pretty much all on the same level playing field. I feel a little bit more of a Google fanboy in that they have over the years provided a lot of really nice services that have worked well for me, and I'm willing to trust them. They haven't, broken that trust in any way, although you could argue that killing Google Reader, at some point. But I hadn't put stuff into Google Reader. I just used it. I don't believe at some point in the future they're going to be like, oh, this photo thing isn't working out. We're going to close down and your photos are gone. No. Google's good about their whole data export policies and things of that sort. So, and Dropbox as well. Dropbox, as Nagel says. I pay for Dropbox as well.
Yeah. And
a lot of files go there.
So, were there any other thoughts that you had on that, or should we start to answer questions?
If you want to read, I haven't read all of the article, but what got me thinking was people's questions about trust and the fact that other people are asking out there, because The Verge has a nice article about trust. So that'll be in the show notes soon. Take a moment to take a look at that if you want to read more about trusting these big companies with your photos.
Yep. Okay, and now we are going to move on to the live Q&A portion of the show. Roy has been setting aside some questions for us to answer, but if you have any questions right now, you're watching, now would be the time to ask them, and we'll try to go over as many as we can. We'll probably go until about 7:40, I think. We've been going for a long time already.
We have.
So.
The first question, we're going to jump right into it, and it ties into what we've just been saying. John had asked this a few days ago, and who wants to set up a Facebook page for his photography. Sounds like a good plan. It's separate from his own personal. And do we have any tips on that? He asked us. And I thought about it a little bit. My first tip is that that's fine, but that should not be the only place where these pictures are being posted.
That's right.
And or coming from.
Yeah.
This is where they're not a sponsor this week, but Squarespace, building a little portfolio site at Squarespace or some other easy site like that allows you to post your full, beautiful, non-compressed images, or you decide how much they're compressed, up there for people to display, then post over to Facebook. Because a couple of things, like Melinda asked, this week of, where's that moon picture you posted? God, do you know how hard it is to find stuff on Facebook after you posted?
It really is.
It's ridiculous.
I don't think that Facebook is really an archival type of service.
Yes.
I think it's a very immediate sort of instant gratification. Okay, move on to the next thing already type of service.
So put your efforts into some place outside of Facebook, and then it's fine to link and say, here's this beautiful picture and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had lots of tips to sort of promote your work on Facebook and have a photography Facebook page, but unfortunately, I feel like we struggle with Facebook a lot because of their most recent algorithm, which is filtering everything. I posted something today that would normally, get 500 views, and it like reached 100 and something people, like 120 people. So naturally, like only a small percentage of that is gonna like it, so then it doesn't, I mean, it wasn't, there is content that does go viral that's really interesting, but for things that aren't super interesting for some people, you know, you're not gonna really get a lot of engagement on it.
Right.
So you've got, you know, one thing that I've seen big companies that have big Facebook pages do is post several times a day. Like every hour they post something, because every hour they reach
really
a
practical
different.
for somebody like John who just wants to share a picture. But consistency is important.
Yes.
You should strive to be consistent, and you know, once a day, once every other day.
Right.
And you should strive to be engaging, either in the picture or the content that goes along with the picture as well.
Yeah. The nice thing with photography, though, if you're doing some sort of event or people photography, like portrait photography or something like that, you still can tag people on Facebook. So if your clients are okay with you tagging them on Facebook, I would still recommend you do this, because then their friends and their family members see it, and that is, you know, that's exactly who you want to see these pictures. Who cares about everybody else? You just want their group of friends to see your pictures, to see that they're great pictures, and then that increases the likelihood of getting, you know, more clients to come back and hire you for work. As far as commercial stuff, though, and stuff where you can't tag people, and that's a little bit trickier, but yeah, no, it's, I mean, I feel like we're constantly just tweaking and trying to figure out Facebook, and it's really challenging. But you should still have, I mean, you should have a presence on Facebook as a business if you're trying to grow your business. You definitely should.
Yep. We had a question, I'm sorry I didn't write down the name. This came in, I think, on Facebook. What's a good practical book on shooting with flashes? The first two that come to mind are, well, Joe McNally. If you're kind of tend towards Nikon, he's a great teacher, has a lot of great books on shooting with flashes. And the other is the Strobist. Search the Strobist, and he has some books. I think he's more on the Canon side. So there you go. There's a Nikon and a Canon side. Strobist and Joe McNally.
And there's a book that I have, which is...
Oh, what do you have?
I forget his name. It's the guy with the red hair. He's got red hair.
That's not the Strobist?
Nope.
Zeke?
Nope.
No. Oh. I know who you mean.
The Strobist is the guy from Baltimore.
Like Carrot Top.
He talks about looking like Carrot Top.
Oh, okay. So it's okay to say that? All right.
I mean,
maybe you could.
I don't remember his name.
Search for a minute while I read this next question I got today. It's just a friend of mine has the Enduro.
Speed lighting. That's what.
Speed lighting? Well, that's just, yeah, okay.
Sylarina. That's his name.
SYL Arena. Okay. A friend of mine has an Enduro CGT 21-4M2 tripod she's selling. That's a very nice high-end $500 tripod. Listen how she got it. She won it on Let's Make a Deal. What? Let's Make a Deal. First off, that show's still on. I think I knew that. Two, they're giving away high-end tripods as part of their deal. Like, behind one door was a donkey, and behind the other was a tripod. Have you ever watched that show? Okay. I loved that show when I was a kid. Door number 3, and it's the donkey. Okay. So that's all. Actually, there's no question there. Well, there was a question to me. It was basically like, what should I offer this friend? I said, offer most of it. It's brand new. Okay. Roger wants to know, our own video work about flash and flash techniques is in the plan. Any time scale?
Well, we had a time scale of last week, but because of unforeseen circumstances, we weren't able to make it work.
It's called circumstances, hard rain, which, you know, screwed up the timetable.
Yeah,
Let's blame the weather. Let's say before the end of summer. That's a safe, and our guys are going to try to get it much sooner than that. John wants to know what we think about the...
I hear the ice cream truck.
Dang it. It used to be Tuesday nights. Now it's Wednesday night when we're doing this damn show.
It's always Wednesday night.
Ooh, who decided Wednesday night?
It's everybody's favorite day. It's Wednesday.
How am I supposed to get my Tiger Blood snow cone? That's the flavor they have in that truck.
It's disgusting. That's like the worst flavor you could get. It's so bad.
Back on disc. Back on task.
It leaves your mouth all red. It's so gross.
John wants to know what we think about the Expo disc. That's a lens cap that does a white balance for you.
So Expo disc is nice, I think, if you are... So I know some wedding photographers that swear by it and use it all the time on weddings, like just whenever they change a setting. I have never used it. I've had access to it, and I don't think that I could incorporate it into my workflow because I'm constantly, my lighting's always changing on a wedding day. If you're doing something where you're working in a specific scenario for an extended period of time, I would get it. It does render accurate color and accurate white balance, but I think, you know, I guess if you want to save some time in post-production, and you've been doing a lot of like commercial work where you're shooting a certain scene different ways, but you're working under the same light, and you want to save time in post-production, then I would definitely recommend it. But if your lighting scenarios are constantly changing, I would just skip it, unless you're gonna take the time to actually. And if you do get it, get a really big one because you can just hold it over all of your lenses. They make different sizes, but you can just get the largest one and then you can hold it over the smaller diameter lenses, just right over it, and it works just fine.
You asked about, basically using a white card to adjust white balance from time to time, and we rarely do that because the light conditions change enough and shoot raw, and then it's pretty easy to fix in batches. Like, all right, this batch was all shot over by the window. Boop, fix them all. Okay?
Okay.
Deepak wants to know about quality control and Sigmas and Tamrons. Still too many lemons compared to Canon and Nikon lenses? No. I don't believe that's true anymore. I believe Sigma is paying attention to the utmost quality. And these Art Series lenses that are rolling off the line seem fantastic. I'm not hearing from anybody in any numbers that they're having issues. I haven't heard from anybody with any issues. Everybody's been gushing about these lenses. Tamrons, I don't know enough. I don't have enough data. They don't seem to have at the same level of Sigma. Sigma's just saying, we are creating high quality small batch lenses. That's what Sigma said. That's their shtick they're going for now, and I love it. Tamron, I think not quite as much, but again, we haven't heard anything. This lens Randall report, somebody in the comments said, do you think this is indicative of a bigger problem? And they said no. It's just, stuff happens. This doesn't seem to be bad. And also they mentioned that Tamron's repair facility, those techs are awesome. So that's always an interesting thing to think about is how long it takes you to get something repaired when it does break, and some places are better than others. Trolina wanted to know if you were using your Wacom tablet during that raw doctor.
No, I was not. I was using the trackpad.
That's right. Dalibor says, space segment, Toby. And I was like, what is he talking about? And then I remembered, can we share my screen for a moment, that I want to try to have a photo or some photo-related space news every once in a while. And I follow Sam Cristoforetti.
Oopsies.
On, that's okay.
Didn't load.
On Twitter, and realized that I saw earlier today she had posted some orbital sunrises. So there's our space. Dalibor, thank you for reminding me. I think you should follow her on Twitter. She posts some neat pictures from time to time, and it's just pretty cool. That's all. Okay, we can come back to bits of Hamza. Says, can you schedule Facebook posts using Hootsuite? You can. You can do that, and that's a nice way to do that. I would be curious, is there any, I feel like sometimes Facebook penalizes content coming in from other third-party systems. And so I would wonder, but it's so hard to tell. So, I don't know for sure. Aaron wants us to know, would we update to a 70D from a 60D right now, or would you hold out and see if they update the D line? Well, Aaron, it's all the D line. But you mean the XXD line. No, I have not heard a breath of rumor, a glimpse, an orbital sunrise of 70D replacement. I do not believe we will see one this year. and I don't think it will be until halfway through next year. No, that's what I think. So, Ramiro wants to know about macro photography lighting. That's something we don't do a whole lot of, but really good macro photography needs a lot of good light. The cheapest, most interesting stuff that I've seen so far, well, we talked about a couple of shows ago that new Venus. Looks like an alien with the two little arms and the LED lights and a third, or flashes, and a third LED light to help you with focusing, and then the flashes go off when you actually take a picture. That looks interesting. It's affordable. There are a handful of fairly cheap LED lights on Amazon that will sit right there on the front of your camera. Those are nice because, like Christina was saying, for using this lighting source down here, it's constant. You can, compose and adjust your exposure settings knowing exactly what you're going to get, because a lot of times when you're working at these really close distances, your flash exposure can really be different than non-flash. So I would be intrigued by checking out some of those cheaper LED models. They're a lot cheaper, but realize you do get what you pay for, and you got to shoot raw because the color correcting is probably going to be necessary, especially if you're shooting outside and you're going to have this mixed lighting. I didn't give a really good answer there, but in short, consider the LED cheap options. Unless you're really serious about this, then you should shell out the money for the bigger stuff. Yes, Jeff, I wanted to know a little bit more about the Miops. Jeff, I did talk about it a little bit. It's a neat little device. I do feel like it's pricey, $200. But it gives you a lightning, a sound, time-lapse mode, laser, which means you beam a laser into its light sensor, and if that beam is broken, it triggers it. And then they have an HDR, which you might say, well, why do you need to do HDR in here? Can't you just do that in the camera? Remember, if you do it in camera, you're limited to 30 seconds as your longest exposure of the 3 brackets, which that might not sound limited, but in some situations it can be quite limiting. So by using bulb mode, you could say one exposure should be 30 seconds, one exposure should be a minute, and one should be 2 minutes, or something even crazier than that. And then it's got a DIY, it's got an accessory port to plug in other things that they say. I don't know if they sell or you're just supposed to be able to find. And it has this whole little scenario thing that you can cook up as well. Phone talks to it via Bluetooth, so you can work with this interface on your phone if you want, a little quicker, but honestly the interface is very simple. Each setting has adjustments that you can make using this little pad here. Feels well made. A downside I've seen some critiques of is that, it is a little funny rechargeable battery. So if you're out in the field and the battery dies on you and you didn't bring along some way to charge it, you're going to be upset. But upside is, versus Trigger Trap, you're not tying up your phone, and it has that light sensor. Trigger Trap doesn't offer that. Trigger Trap's a lot cheaper. You need your smartphone and the $40 dongle. This is $200. So that's a pretty significant difference, but there's no other lightning detectors that I know in this price range, plus it does those other things. So if you're interested in that, it's intriguing. Other downside, and of course you can plug it into your flash as well. Full review will be out in 3 to 4 days, I hope, Jeff, so I won't say more about it than that right now.
Yep.
Were you looking at something?
I was trying to look up the counter.
Oh.
But I couldn't find the link for it.
The counter of how many people have pushed the subscribe button. I can go to my Twitter and I can scroll back a little bit. This is where we start to wrap the show up. We do things like talk about what we might have for dinner. Worry that the cats
what's for dinner.
Haven't come inside at all. Oh yeah, sissy face. Popping balloons is scary. Here it is. 99,949 at this moment. So, it's exciting.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll drink something special later. I don't know what. I don't think. I'm sure there's
mojitos.
Mojitos?
Because we have so much mint.
We do have a lot of mint in the backyard, and she can make good mojitos when she's paying attention. Doesn't make them too strong. Too strong for this.
Trelina has 99,954. How cool would it be if we reached 100 while we were live? That would be pretty cool.
That
we would have to stay.
We're gonna have to stay for a while.
Long time.
Yeah, people are gonna realize, oh, he's not gaining subscribers that fast. I'm, you know, I'm,
0945.
at this moment, I'm gaining, what was it, about 100 and something a day. I think, is that what it works out to be? At this moment, or let's see, I know the month. The month is 5,200. Well, see, that's not a good indication though, because the last 7 days have been much heavier than the previous. The 50 millimeter review has brought in subscribers. The kit lenses has brought in subscribers. And this is another thing, like Facebook, how much YouTube chooses to suggest my video after other people's videos is completely out of my control.
We've come to the realization that there are a lot of things that are outside of our control
right.
when
I'll share this
producing
bit
videos.
Of inside baseball. That's what they say, right? Inside baseball. You know, it is almost exactly a year ago that I left my full-time job and made this my full-time job. And I thought, hey, you know what? I am working 2 jobs and I'm earning X amount on YouTube. When I put my full energy behind that, I'm gonna see that double. No, it doesn't work that way. All you YouTubers out there that are, you know, getting some money from the advertising revenue, there are a lot of things out of your control, and it is clear that you need a huge amount of views and subscribers, and I'm getting there. This isn't a complaint. This is just telling you how it is, to really make a significant difference. I've made more up this year so far than I did in that past year, but it is not double at all. Not at all.
No. So
And maybe I'm not making the right videos. Maybe I should stop playing Plants vs. Zombies. I don't know. Actually, I don't play that anymore.
No, I mean, I think we've been experimenting with a new kind of style of videos. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think that coupled with things that you guys want to hear about will hopefully sort of help us grow a little bit faster. So, I don't know, we'll see. We're having fun, that's what matters.
Most days.
Most days. Not the days where I have to go in the dark and try to figure out how to work.
We didn't talk about that. Oh my gosh, we gotta talk about that. That was the part of the tease of the show of what was I doing standing ankle deep in dark water last night. First off, can we, let me bring it up first so I can make sure I can see it without sharing all those private pictures I don't want you guys to see. All right, can you share my screen? Here we go. This is why you stick around. We should cut it right now from the live show so everybody, no, I'm just kidding. First off, I love my pants in this picture. It looks like I'm just ankle deep in the water, but I'm standing on a crate. It got deeper faster than I thought. Here's my plan. I wanted to do steel wool spinning again. That is where you take steel wool, stuff it in a wire whisk, light it on fire, and whip it around your head. We did it about a year and a half ago, and I thought the pictures we got were pretty darn cool. I wanted to do it again. I also wanted to shoot it with the LG G4 because, hey, I don't think many people have shot a steel wool spinning with their smartphone yet. So I found this location that's actually really close to our house right down here on the Connecticut River. And I said, I'm gonna go out in the water, I'm gonna stand on something so that I can go a little bit further out because I need to get far enough away from Christina on the shore with the cameras to get a good view. But the problem was it got dark deep fast, so I couldn't go too far. And let's go to this shot right here. So this is, I'm sorry, I don't remember if this is with the LG. I think it is. Yes, this is with the LG. So this is what I wanted. I wanted that reflection in the water. Now, yes, it's crooked, things like that. Blame Christina. She was pretty grumpy though because it was 10:20 at night. Well, the shot is crooked, Christina.
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, it was dark. How could I compose a picture at night? My God, you get crooked pictures during the day.
Oh, now we've moved into the insult period. Okay, so
Everybody was asking for bloopers. Here you go.
I wanted the reflection is what I wanted, but we just could not get. I could not get far enough out without worrying about the Connecticut River alligators getting me. So this is as far as we got. And one thing that I'm running into the LG, I mentioned this before, is do not blow out the highlights because it does not recover that information. But we got a lot of cool information here. This is at 15 seconds. So then I think here's a shot from the Canon T6S. A little bit further back, you can see the 5D Mark III was also recording. And this is pretty cool. From this shot, this was with the 10 to 18 at 10, it doesn't look like I'm out that far. I wasn't out that far, but I was as far as I could go, and it was scary. Wasn't that scary. But this is a cool shot as well. Look at the little cricket. Oh, and then there's the doorway, so we don't need to, oh wait, let's see, do I want to go, how do we get out of that? Okay. Okay, then, this was the other idea of the shot. Over the head, so a complete mirror ball. And again, just not far enough. So we're gonna have to experiment, try some other places. If you haven't done this, it's really cool. I've got a video up about it. It's not that scary. Do wear a hoodie though, because a couple things landed on my head and it hurt a little bit. But I didn't want to swat them away because then I thought I'd lose my balance on the crate. Oh, you're back on us? Did everybody get to see that picture?
I thought so.
Oh, okay.
And should I go back to it?
Yeah, I guess so. We did one more on land so that we could get far enough away, and even then still, they fly far. So if you do this, people in California, you're not allowed to do this, period. But if you've done this someplace where it's rained recently, like we have, and everything was moist, or you do it out in the water, then you're okay. Don't start any fires, don't hurt yourself. But it's neat. So, that's why I was standing in ankle-deep water last night. Yesterday was a fun day because I shot some of those balloon poppings, and we went and did this. But you were grumpy. You're like, I don't really want to stand here in the dark and take pictures.
I actually was grumpy leading up to it, but then when we were actually out there, I was totally fine.
Let's be honest, you were grumpy because I said, take a picture of me that looks mysterious. So I wanted to...
It's just so cheesy.
I like cheese. Cheese is delicious. Okay. Is that cheesy enough?
Yep. Yep.
And on that note, cheese and moist. I see people in the chat.
Goodbye.
Are some people bothered by the word moist? Don't you have a friend who hates the word?
I feel like that's a thing that people say. I hate the word moist. Like, I've heard multiple people say that.
Okay. Here's what we're going to do, just because we're going to test it out for a few moments. We're going to say thanks everybody for watching, but then we'll stay here for like 3 minutes.
Okay.
And then when the show goes non-live, I hope the encoder works, but we have been backing this up as well.
Yeah, so if...
Tell us how big that file is. I don't know if it'll...
It's 1 hour and 43 minutes.
Well, how big is does the file report its actual size?
Oh, am I stopping record?
No, but won't it tell us if we press Finder? This is great. People are like, I'm sticking around for this. So we're gonna
No, it says 24 megabytes right now, so it does not.
Okay. Well, we're gonna say thanks for watching. Press that thumbs up button. If you're not already a subscriber, please press that subscribe button. There are things coming into this office because of the number of subscribers I have. It allows me to bring you more interesting content. So if you're not already a subscriber, take a moment to do that. And maybe you'll be the 100,000th subscriber. It doesn't tell me numbers. Somebody asked me that today. It doesn't tell me. So, I don't know. I just don't know. But we thank you so much for watching. Take a look at the show notes down below and stay tuned for more from photorec.tv. Goodbye. Okay, but now we're not actually stopping it, but hit the end record button.